Hi there, Anthony from Anthony Ray Reviews here, and I've decided that 2023 is the year I pay more attention to the voice in my head telling me to check out new music. And yet you still haven't listened to Ants from up there. Okay, I promise, I am getting to Black Country New Road next month. It's just really intimidating to talk about things that are already so well-loved and well-known. I mean, what if I get people who use Rate Your Music in my comments? Bold words coming from someone reviewing Black Midi in a few minutes. Hey, who told you could read ahead in the script? I don't know. Anyway, what I mean is that I found it hard to leave my musical bubble in 2022. Not only did I miss out on most new releases, but I didn't explore older albums much either. To put it another way, there's a lot of overlap between my 2021 Spotify Wrapped and the one from 2022. But New Year, New Me has never been more true than it is this year. I mean, look at me, I'm a YouTuber or something now? How did that happen? So, I want to get back in the game of discovering new music. I'm going to try to do monthly videos where I give short reviews of every album I listen to for the first time in the past month. No theme, no limit, no pressure, just a mix of albums that I listened to because I wanted to. So with that, let's get started.
So take me down to the river and bathe me clean.
This is such a haunting album. It's a narrative of Southern Gothic tragedy carried through ethereal rock, folk, and country. These songs are often slow and contemplative, and several clock in at over 7 minutes long, but it never feels like wasted time. Instead, it allows these tracks to envelop you and draw you in, and with her songwriting being so compelling, it was impossible for me to not give this my full attention. This will not come as a surprise to anyone else who's listened to it, but this album is an absolutely gut-wrenching listen at times due to its themes of abuse, trauma, and murder, all hiding in the shadows of evangelical Christianity and the American dream. And it may be too emotionally intense for me to return to as often as some of the other albums I discuss here, but it's a real work of art, and I'm very glad to have experienced such an uncompromising artistic vision.
Ice cold adrenochrome.
This album by experimental New Jersey band Human Zoo refuses to be defined by genre. You get punk, you get Bee Gees, you get piano ballads, you get...
Hark, sons and daughters of Adam.
Whatever Hark is. There's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of social satire, a lot of tell me you like Mr. Bungle without telling me you like Mr. Bungle. Some of these genre experiments don't work as well as the others. Depression, for example, comes across as a shallow and repetitive parody of emo rap that is neither funny nor very enjoyable to listen to. But when this album is good, it's very good. For me, the highlights are the title track Wealth and Hellness, Serial Killer, and Fever Dream. The first two are just bops, and the last one is the album's most serious song, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about the line, just 'cause you're in pain don't make this art. So if you like stuff that's a bit off the wall, maybe give this one a try.
I'm having bad dreams, and nothing you can do will keep the bad things away from me until I fall asleep.
Razzmatazz by I Don't Know How But They Found Me has been floating around my friend circles ever since its release, and I finally sat down and gave it a listen this month. This is a solid album of synthy groovy pop rock that occasionally dips into calmer and more acoustic sounds. Lights Go Down is probably my favorite for its subtly creepy lyrics and killer sax solo. I also find myself returning a lot to Cluster Hug and From the Gallows. I may not have immediately connected to this album on the first listen, but every time I replay it I find more to love. If I can be a little nitpicky, Nobody Likes the Opening Band is a great album opener that is for some reason forced to be the third track. Just move it to the front and the first few songs of the album would flow so much better in my opinion, but again, that's nitpicking. This is a good album.
Ghost in the corner, won't you give me some attention? I finally found you, it took me 83 dimensions. Browsing through your shows, I cancel my Netflix subscription. Carson, got a quarter-inch suspension.
While I call myself a hyperpop fan, I felt like ever since it gained mainstream recognition, the genre has been moving too fast for me to keep up with. Or maybe I'm just old, who knows. But I'm glad Hope You're Okay crossed my radar because their debut album, Error Code 404, reminds me of why I was drawn to the genre in the first place. It's loud and energetic with a lot of pop-punk attitude. Ghost in the Corner has emotional lyrics set to an instrumental reminiscent of Bloodstains by 100 gecs. I Hate You is an angry breakup song with hilarious lines like, I hope your son's straight. I also really like the opener, The Letdown. It makes good use of hyperpop's most common genre tropes, and I like putting this album on when I need a bit of angsty pop to rattle my car speakers. Now this is where I would say I'm excited to see what they do next, but it turns out I didn't have to wait that long. Right in the middle of this month, Hope You're Okay released their second full-length titled You Are Killing Our Relationship, Uncomfortable Endings Produce Our Happiness. Less than a year between albums doesn't usually give your sound much time to evolve, but I was happy to find that this is musically distinct from their debut. This album is more restrained, more emotional, more vibes than bops, if you will. There's some similarities in the lyrical content, but it feels different in presentation. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for me as much as Error Code 404. Being less immediately catchy means it will probably have to grow on me. But it's still an album that clearly has a lot of love behind it, and I see this duo continuing to do great things in the future.
I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue, blue sky, and all that I can see is just a yellow lemon tree.
Alright, time to throw a bit of a curveball with two albums that are not from this decade. A while back, a friend introduced me to the song Lemon Tree by German band Fool's Garden, and do you remember the time I said I lie awake at night sometimes wondering what great music I'm missing out on by being American? Well, that song did make the bubbling undercharts, but still, unfair world we live in that I didn't hear it until well into my 20s because I like it a lot. Having now listened to the album it's from, Dish of the Day, I do think it's the best song on that album. They say it's not a good sign if all your top tracks on Spotify are just different versions of one hit, and yeah. While I enjoyed listening to the mix of 90s rock and more Beatles-esque cuts that make up the rest of the album, I didn't find most of it to be quite as memorable as Lemon Tree. The exception is the penultimate track, Finally, which I like for its lyrics about feeling free after leaving a relationship. If you're gonna listen to anything from this album, make it one of those two songs.
There's something in your soul that makes me feel so old.
I actually bought this CD at a secondhand music shop the last time I went on vacation, but when I got back, my car's CD player was broken. Go figure. Before the Human League were the synth-pop hitmakers we're now familiar with, they were a more avant-garde-leaning electronic outfit with a different lineup. Reproduction is their first album, and I was impressed with what I found here. The production is often spacey, minimalistic, sometimes even dissonant. I find it's very post-punk in places as well. You won't find another Don't You Want Me on here, but I still found it very engaging. Some bits that stood out to me were the unsettling opening track, Almost Medieval, the oddly humorous Empire State Human with lyrics that read like a sci-fi B-movie, and a cold, detached cover of You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling. If this style of experimentation appeals to you, this is an interesting look at the Human League before they put the pop in synth pop. Quick note, the original release ends with the song Zero as a limit, but the remastered edition, which I have on CD, features a number of bonus tracks taken from the band's early years, and there's some cool stuff in there as well. Maybe I'll take a deeper look at their discography someday, but if I do, I'll probably skip Crash. If you know, you know.
The Ludwig clash of the century, February 31st, 2163.
In hindsight, I'm not sure what exactly I expected from this album, but I got so much more than that. Not even 10 seconds in, and you're greeted by what sounds like the ramblings of a possessed auctioneer, followed by several tales of sinners condemning themselves to hell. And those stories are often gripping, but the real appeal here is how they combine with the incredible jazz prog musicianship backing them up. Take the manic intensity of the middle section of The Race is About to Begin as its protagonist succumbs to gambling addiction, or the triumphant horns of Sugared Zoo as its narrator brags about the senseless murder they've committed. Admittedly, I am not always in the mood to hear stories from the point of view of such unsavory characters as the army commander of Welcome to Hell. I mean, I love a good villain song, but something about the way these lyrics are written really gets in my head sometimes. However, that doesn't detract from the fact that this album is very good and was well worth my time. I plan on giving the rest of Black Midi's discography a listen after this, but Hellfire turned my brain into freshly boiled spaghetti, so I'm gonna need some time to process it first. At least I have the good people of the Genius Comments section to help me with that.
Have you ever felt like being somebody else? Feeling like the mirror isn't good for your health.
I'm not much of a mainstream pop listener. I don't actively avoid it, but most of my knowledge of what's on the charts these days comes to me secondhand. That being said, I've been following Sam Smith from a distance for a while because it's exciting to have openly non-binary artists in the spotlight, and I want to see Sam succeed. And the song Unholy may have been quite divisive in the music review community, but I thought it was a lot of fun, and it made me eager to see where their career was headed. So, is there anything else like Unholy on Gloria? No. As it turns out, that song was a fluke, and this is a more classically Sam Smith album about personal growth and hoping to find love, both from others and from within yourself. The messages feel very genuine and personal, which is why it's a shame that so many of these songs are bogged down by unnecessary featured vocalists and too short to really linger in your head when they're done. There's absolutely potential here. I like the vibes and lyrics of Lose You and Six Shots, and the self-acceptance theme of Love Me More really resonates with me. When I listened to this album, all I could hear was all the ways it could have been better because something just feels missing. Sorry, Sam, I promise I'm still rooting for you. But consider taking some of the self-confidence you've gained and using it to realize that your songs can stand on their own without Kim Petras rhyming daddy with daddy. Well, I'd hate to end this video on a disappointment. How about a pleasant surprise instead? I saw someone listing their favorite albums of 2022 in a YouTube comment. Of course, I haven't been able to find that comment again, but they included this and noted that it was from a Hungarian band. Having a small fascination with the Hungarian language, I decided to see what this album had to offer, and the answer is very well done alternative rock that I've been a little obsessed with. It's just so much fun. There's not a single dull moment here, and they play with many different styles. I've been particularly in love with the 3-song run in the middle of Polaroid, Pok, and Immunische Valunk. Absolute bangers, every one of them. I like the lyrics that I've looked up. I won't comment on all of them because I know things get lost in translation, but I like that Poke is a song against homophobia. Obviously, I don't have all the cultural context, but I know that the Hungarian government has taken several anti-LGBT actions in recent years, and to me, this song reads as a direct response to their attempts to keep queer communities out of the public eye. So that's a standout track for sure, but I recommend checking out the rest of this album too, because you'll definitely leave with one of these songs stuck in your head. Random YouTube commenter, I hope you're out there because you made my month a little better. Alright, that concludes this month's reviews. I really enjoyed this. I heard a lot of great stuff. What do you think of these albums? Leave your thoughts down below, as well as anything else you think I should listen to. I'm gonna continue working my way through some of the most well-received albums of last year, but I welcome any suggestions, old or new. Goodbye, American teenagers. I will see you again soon.